Now let's talk about branding and marketing of mobile money. Branding is always important, but it's particularly important for mobile money for two reasons. One is because of the need to endow trust on the service. Trust not only because it's about money, but because it involves, delivering the service involves a broader range of players, and customers need to know who to trust. So imagine the customer wants to do a deposit. For that, they go to an agent, which is going to be the grocer next door. They take their phone and press some buttons on it to do the necessary transaction authorizations and view the confirmations. This is then sending messages through the telecoms network of the mobile operator, and customers need to feel like these messages are not being listened to, they're not being tampered with, and customers need to feel comfortable that the money ultimately is going into a bank that is keeping the money safe. You might trust the grocer, you've always shopped there, you like your trusty Nokia, you trust the mobile operator, and you trust the bank. But how do you know that the transactions are not dropping somewhere in between? How do you know that these are well connected? That is the role of branding, where someone takes the role of establishing a trust domain across all these different players. The branded player is saying, I got you covered, I'm going to make sure that this all works for you. The second role of branding is to drive viral spread of the service. And it's very important for mobile money, which needs to achieve critical mass as quickly as possible. I view mobile money as like a mountain where on this side it feels like pushing rocks uphill. There's few customers on it, so it's not that useful as a payment device. There's not enough customers to drive agents in many places, until you get to a certain critical mass size where on this side it feels much more like a snowball getting bigger and bigger. As more and more customers come on it, the usefulness of the service increases, and there's going to be more agents. So these are the requirements. We need to drive trust, and we need to drive critical mass. How to do that? I'm not going to give you the recipe because that depends a lot on local circumstances, but let me tell you what one particularly successful case did, and that's M-Pesa in Kenya. They promoted their service under a very simple banner, send money home. 3 words, which one did you not understand? That's driving the marketing from a particular use case. And this drove advertising campaigns, as you see down here, where it's very easy to see the younger member of a family sending money to their older relatives back in the village. Let me make a few points about this advertising. First, what is the sequence of questions that get answered? The first one is why. Why should you be interested in this? And here you're interested in this because if you're this guy, you want to show your parents that you care, that you are there to support them. Once you understand then the second question is, so what is this? And that's represented by this arc here. M-Pesa is a way for you to send money to your mother back in the village, as if bills were flying between your phones, and this works wherever I am, wherever she is. The next obvious question is, of course, how? So how do I actually do this? These ads are very silent on that. There's no agent represented here, as if the money came in and off of the bills directly, and there's no description of the user interface, the buttons you need to press to make it all work. So if you see this as a continuum of questions the customers need to have answered to entice them into the service, then the marketing and the ads are coming in at this side to get the customer interested in the service, and the specific questions of how it works are then delegated to the distribution channel, to the agents in every community. The second point about these ads is that they represent a very effective mixture of functional messaging with emotional messaging. Functional messaging is about the hassles that you now have to incur to pay to send money, and the emotional is, of course, about the linkage, how by sending money to your parents you're able to be much closer to them, to feel like much more appreciated by them. The third point to make is about who is targeted in these ads. What is the actual customer segment being targeted? We see it's here. It's the young person who is always in the foreground in these pictures. The marketing is going towards the young person, who is the decision maker, who is the person who needs to send money. This person then is pushing, is driving the service into their parents. Focusing the marketing on this person makes a lot of sense, because this person is likely to be younger, more urban, probably richer, more educated, and hence much more accessible by normal marketing means, and let him drive his parents into the service by telling them, well, you need to do this in order to receive my money. And the fourth point is about how the marketing is of a very specific use case to help people get their head around it and understand it, and then let or invite customers to find other use cases to become, for the service to be much more generic in their lives. If I understand how I can send money home with this service, I'm very likely to understand how I can send it also to my friends or to my children studying in the capital. So what is the actual branding around mobile money? Here we see the main brand, or the main brand of the parent company, Safaricom, the mobile operator, and here the service sub-brand. And notice how the sub-brand is picking very directly on the elements of the main brand. There's a very strong association, especially on the color side. And the sub-brand has this very clever way of showing how this is about mobile phones and money. Why the strong association? Well, remember that when Safaricom launched M-Pesa, there was no notion of mobile money. People didn't understand how any of that worked. So it was very important for the service to be very closely associated with Safaricom, as if Safaricom was telling customers, try this, this works, this is good, give it a go. This logo is the only tangible expression of the service. The service itself, mobile money, is not something you can touch or see. So it's very important for the mobile operator to drive visible ubiquity of the brand, so that customers know that the service is available, so the customers see that many people are using it, so that they're drawn into the service. The visible ubiquity of the M-Pesa brand is essential to compensate for the intangible, invisible nature of the service. This visibility is driven by advertising campaign like we saw here, but more importantly through the distribution, through the network of agents that exist in every village and neighborhood. In a market street like this, we can see several M-Pesa agents that are sporting the M-Pesa brand. They're telling the community the service is here, many people are using the service. So what does it look like when you get closer to those shops? Here are some examples. What you see readily is that pretty, the signage is not. In fact, it's not particularly consistent either. The rendering of the logos, the positioning of the logos, the sizes are all different. Why did M-Pesa not go for standardized signage across all stores? It will look a lot neater. Well, if they did that, probably they would lose a lot on the visibility of these stores. These stores are shouting the M-Pesa brand because they want to one-up each other. This one has put the poster out on the street. This one is made it much bigger. So by shouting the service the way they are, they're giving the service much more visibility than if there was standard signage, which we would all tune out of after a while because it would all be the same. But they're not just shouting the availability of the service, they're shouting that they want the business. They're telling customers this is very successful by the way they're promoting it. And so this signage gives it much more of a vibrant sense for the service. Now let's walk inside the store. And what we see is very different. And inside the store, consistency is everything. The store, we don't need to have the store shout anymore promoting the service, because the customer's already walked into it with the intention of transacting there. Instead now, what is important for this person is to feel like they're doing the transaction with Safaricom, not with the clerk. The clerk might be necessary for the transaction, but that's incidental. The client wants to feel like his account with Safaricom is being manipulated. So how to achieve this level of consistency? It's by taking the opposite approach of what Safaricom did for storefront signage, and to go for standard set of collaterals that all stores must have. And here you see them. First is the agent number, which shows the number you would type on your mobile phone if you want to transact with this agent. This little sign is like a certificate of being the agent, and you can see it here and here. Second is the tariff poster, which you see here and here. It indeed has an itemization, full disclosure of all charges associated with M-Pesa, plus some other consumer education messages like don't share your PIN, don't transact if the system is down, and call this customer care number if there's any issue. The third one is the agent logbook, which is a big fat accounting-like book that the agent has on the counter. In it, the agent records every single transaction that he does. For each one, he'll record the number and name of the client, is it a deposit withdrawal amount, etc., etc. This information is in fact all redundant. All of this exists electronically. This is, after all, an electronic payment system. So why does M-Pesa insist that the agent write down this information? A lot of it has to do with giving the customer a sense of tangible finality of the transaction. The transaction got recorded, and the customer actually signed the logbook here. The transaction is completed. This is giving a physical replica of what happened electronically, with the signature was, of course, the customer PIN. And the final common piece of collateral is the opening hours. It's in fact a newer one that M-Pesa has been insisting on more recently. It found that a lot of customers complained about not being able to access their money simply because the agent had closed the shop temporarily. So now M-Pesa asks agents to post their opening hours. They can be whatever they like, but they need to stick by it. So this is what M-Pesa has had built up over a few years. Now that it's well established that every Kenyan pretty much knows what it is, a vast majority of them uses it, it's moved to much more inspirational, in fact, aspirational sort of positioning in the market. M-Pesa no longer needs to tell people specifically what you can do with it. Instead, it's trying to tell customers that M-Pesa should be an important element of every aspect of their life. For your business, M-Pesa creates opportunities. M-Pesa is a good way for you to show your love and to share with your loved ones. M-Pesa is a way to handle emergencies. It's a safety net for you. Through this kind of advertising, M-Pesa is trying to entrench itself into the very fabric of life. A bit similar to what American Express did with the Don't Leave Home Without It campaign for its credit cards.